All right. So just a few takeaways that I got from, I didn't even bring the book up, but the Introvert Entrepreneur. I think it's like chapter 4. But it's just like different ways for introverts in the way that we operate in our everyday life, to actually incorporate, instead of thinking that our personality holds us back from things like networking and talking to people, to actually like use our gifts and the way that we are designed for, like as superpowers, almost like as a powerful way to network. So first takeaway, I didn't have time to review this before we started this call, so I might be reading a little bit more than usual, but we already, like, we go into, I don't know if you guys are like me, but there's certain things that you dread. Like, you just have a natural tendency to dread. I know some of you dread power hours the way that I dread power hours. I do too. And it's a way to decide it's going to be one way. Like, we already decide that it's worth dreading. We already decide that it's going to be painful. We like make the decision that our power hour is going to be hard to do, and you attach a feeling to the actual, just the name of it. You hear power hour and you get that feeling in your chest or your stomach, and then you get that guilt feeling because you're not doing it consistently. So there's like so much negative attached to that one thing. So it's just about like giving ourselves the opportunity to enjoy it, like attaching something good to our power hour, even if it's just little mind tricks that you have to do. Like, I know earlier this year, I changed the name power hour to happy hour, just to remind myself to like approach it joyfully. If it's like you sit down to your power hour with a glass of wine and you just associate that with something nice for yourself, or you sit down to it doing something you don't enjoy with something that you do enjoy, whether it's like, you know, a nice chocolate, like get yourself those, is it Ghirardelli's? I don't know, they're really good. Starts with a G. Even if you get one of those and like every day that you sit down to your power hour, you just give yourself like a little chocolate. It's kind of like, honestly, it's like training a dog, like you, or a kid on a potty. Not that I know anything about that, still struggling through that, but it's like giving yourself that happy connotation to what you're doing, whereas before you have like this negative connotation. So that was just like one idea. Show up with a presence. Okay, so you decide who you are and who you want to be. Oh, I wrote this. You are who you decide to be. I really kind of like that quote. But like, what is your brand? Like, who do you want your brand to be? Do you want your brand to be scared? Do you want your brand to be like shy and afraid? Obviously not. Like, that's not going to attract those business builders. That's not going to attract the people who are going to help you take your business to the next level. So when you decide like what you want your brand to be, that's who you are deciding to be. And so you need to sit down to your power hour, sit down to your messages as that person, even if you have to give yourself like a silly, what do they call that word? Like, you give yourself a persona. I don't know, like Beyonce has one, I guess. Sasha Fierce, you know what I'm saying? Like, give yourself that persona, design the person that you want to be, and then sit down for a second and just visualize yourself as that person before you start the power hour or whatever it is that like is so painful for you to get through. I keep referring to the power hour because trust me, guys, that is my sticking point as well. So if you're sticking with it, probably because I am. But if you, and sometimes I go back to just Noelle Rose. I mean, sometimes I just visualize who I was as like this 18-year-old carefree, didn't, you know, give an F about anything or anyone. I mean, really, I was insecure, but at the same time, I had such a cocky persona that nobody knew that. So I like kind of like take that back. Like, that was my PowerPoint. So when you sit down, you know, kind of do something like that. When you approach your conversations, think to yourself, what do I have to offer rather than what will I get out of this? Attach your giving persona to yourself. Remember how it feels. Like, go back to yourself and remember how it feels to be you before coaching. Like, were you sad? Were you lonely? Were you lacking purpose? Were you like wake up every day and wonder like, when is it going to get better? Like, think of that person that you were and approach every conversation like you're trying to cheer up your old self. Like, you're just trying to make your old self, like, give your old self hope for whatever it is that was painful for you before, or maybe still is a little bit. I know for me, even when I don't feel confident, and if I'm around people who are less confident than me, like, not to call her out or anything, but my little sister struggles with the same sort of social anxiety that I struggled with. And even if I don't feel sure in a situation, if I'm with my little sister and we do something, I am so much more confident. Like, I get stuff done for her because I feel her pain. Like, I know what she's going through and I want to take care of her. So it's like, I was just like a light bulb moment when I read this, like, approach every conversation like that. Like, maybe this person wants friends, but can't get out of their shell to make friends. Like, you could be that one person that reaches out and says hello. So I just kind of like that. Relieve the pressure to sell. Like, even the best salesperson, this is number 4, sorry, I'm not numbering them. Number 4, relieve the pressure to sell. Even the best salesperson in the world cannot sell something to every single person that they talk to. So why approach every conversation with the intent to sell? It makes it icky. It makes it slimy. It makes you feel bad. It makes you dread the conversation because you're like, I need to get something out of it. Or if it doesn't end in a sale, you feel like you've wasted your time. Really take that pressure off yourself. You're not going to sell to everybody. You're going to have hundreds of conversations that never go anywhere beyond the conversation or beyond making that person feel better for that day. And that has to be okay. We have to be okay with that. Where it's not our job to make people do anything. It's only our job to open the opportunity that maybe you'll collaborate down the road on something and maybe you won't. But if you never make that contact, then you never will. When you're talking to people, number 5, when you're talking to people, a great conversation transition is to say something like, it sounds like you, based upon what they've said previously in the conversation and where you want them to go. If they're telling you a pain point about, like they just eat poorly or something like that, it sounds like you struggle with nutrition. Let me tell you about the 21-day fix, why it's so easy, or something like that. When you talk to people and you point out things that they've said in the conversation, they start to believe it even more because they're the ones that said it. They're the ones that told you they need a solution to this. So instead of you just being like, buy this from me, you're saying like, it sounds like you have a problem in this area and I know that this can alleviate that problem, and it helps them have more belief in that. Another good conversation question, which I was just going to go into the free groups that I'm a part of, like some of my mom groups, just to start conversations, because in case you didn't know, those free groups are great places to add to your network. So I just read this not too long ago, and I haven't been doing it consistently, but it's going to be a part of my happy hour, to go like into these free groups every single day and ask a question that gets people talking. And then I can start conversations, like private conversations with them based on their answers. And it's not weird. It's just me getting to know this person better because I was intrigued by an answer that they gave. But one of the questions is so simple, but yet it's kind of like gives you an idea of what this person's life is like. What is making you happy today? Like, what makes you happy today? Like, it's such a simple question, but I feel like I can't wait to ask people and I'm going to be like, you can't say your family or your kids because everybody's going to be like, my kids. I'm going to be like, don't say it. I'm like that mom that like doesn't want to talk about my kid. Okay, so stop. And then I was just going to suggest, because this is something I plan on doing just based off this chapter, it came to me, design a cheat sheet of like good conversation inducing questions. I guarantee like we can go on Pinterest or we can go on Google and just look like questions to ask new acquaintances. And you're going to get like these crazy lists are going to come up. Like Google has everything. And if you plan on doing something like I plan on doing and going into your free groups to start conversations, what a great way to take any pressure to be like so efficient with it to already have questions that you can ask every day. You don't even have to think about it. You go in there, you post a question, and you're done with that for now. And then later on, when you go back to your business hours, you can, check in on those conversations. But I just plan on doing that. So number 6, entrepreneurs who love their business are always ready to share their passion. I know that I was talking to one of my coaches, and she was talking about how hard it is for her to bring up the fact that she coaches, and she's afraid that the minute she mentions what she does, the people she's talking to are going to automatically assume that she only wants to talk to them because she wants to sell something. And by the way, going into a conversation with that mentality is going to come across that mentality. You're putting that energy into the conversation, so it may be a possibility that the other person's picking up on that, which is why it's so important to go into your conversations with the mentality that you're not trying to sell anything. You're not going to sell anything. And it's just a matter of, piecing together that conversation. But there's nothing to be ashamed about in what we do. And if you go and ask a nurse, like, what do you do? She's going to say, I'm a nurse. And she's not ashamed of it. She doesn't care if you like what she does. She doesn't care if you agree with her career. That's just what she does. So why should we feel anything when somebody turns around and says, well, what about you? We should be very proud of what we do. You should know how to respond. Oh, there you are, Candace. I was telling everybody we had to rag on you because you weren't here tonight.
No, I was scrambling to make a post. Then Nicholas was crying, and then my computer was dead, and then I needed a beer. So here I am.
Well, you just missed number 6. I'm going through 10 points, but I recorded this, so you can go back and listen to the first 6. But the other side of that is to know how to respond, because a lot of the times, I know that this has happened to me in face-to-face conversations when somebody turned to me and was like, what do you do? I've kind of stumbled over my words. I've been doing this for 2 years. I should know the back of my hand how to describe what it is that I do without feeling, how do I describe what it is that I do? So knowing how to respond and even reciting it to yourself over and over while you're alone, reciting that, they call it the elevator pitch, that, 15-second introduction of what it is that you do, and responding with why first. Lindsay brought up a great book, and it's funny that she pointed it out in our last meeting. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. If you guys haven't read it, it's a great book. But it's funny that she pointed that out because the very next chapter that I read in my book, cited that book, talked about it, broke down a few of the things that he talked about. And starting with why is so important. And I'm going to touch on that in a couple more points here. When you go into conversations, what do you want to learn, find, or experience? Rather than being these conversations are for me to get a sale, or these conversations are for me to make a contact. What if you started your conversations, you sit down to your desk and you're getting ready to send hey girls or whatever. I might want to rename those now, just thinking about things and the way that I have connotations towards things. I may rename this, but why don't you say I want to meet 3 people and find out why they love their jobs. My goal today is to talk to 3, 5, 10 people, whatever you want to give yourself, and find out why they love their job. Or my goal today is to talk to 10 people and find out why they live where they live, or what they love about where they live, or all just different things, rather than saying I want to start conversations. Because when you talk to me about starting conversations, I immediately think of small talk, and small talk makes me want to gouge my eyes out. I don't like to do it. So when you talk about starting conversations, all I think of is hi, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. Ew. But if I go into a conversation and I'm I'm trying to find out why this person does this, or this, and then challenge myself to do that, to find that out with at least 5 people. It challenges me because not every conversation is going to go that far. Like, you send hellos or whatever and people don't respond, but it just keeps you moving on to the next one until you can accurately come back and be like, okay, I found this out for these 5 people. And now you've established a good conversationalist, like a good relationship, because now you know something deeper than the what, the why of something, even if it's not a very personal topic. This is just a good point. This is number 8. If you're scared to share what you do, you're out of touch with why you do it. So if there's something about being a coach that makes you like, I don't really want to say that I'm a coach, then you're out of touch with why you do it. And you need to spend some time rehashing where your passion comes from with this business, like where you can find your joy, what gives you joy about it, why are you even here? If you don't like talking about being a coach and it makes you feel slimy to be a coach or whatever, you need to figure out, why are you even here? You should love this. This should be like an amazing thing, an amazing gift to give. It's a great opportunity. We should love this. Just like, I keep going back to nurses, but just like nurses love their jobs, or whoever, teachers. What else do you guys do? I don't know. Physical therapist, whatever. Number 9. Okay, so this is not, it's not what, how, why, it's why, how, what. So when somebody asks you what you do, now this is going to sound, I just wrote this like really quickly, but it's kind of cool. But when somebody asks you like, what do you do? How awesome would it be to revert them back to why? So like, a lot of people they say, okay, so what do you do? And they're like, I'm a Beachbody coach. And that immediately, like, there's no mystery behind it. Some people might be like, what do you actually do as a coach? But, there's no real mystery behind it. What do you do? This is what I do. And they lead with their job title. So this book is challenging you, and also Start With Why is challenging you to lead with why you do what you do. So you might slip it into the conversation like, first of all, you have to figure out why you do what you do. So was my example. If somebody said, so what do you do? Or what is it that you do? I would say, because I believe in women pursuing their purpose beyond their roles, I encourage them to regain their confidence and empowerment by building their own businesses. Isn't that so much more interesting than saying I'm a Beachbody coach? And doesn't that give like that person so much more to like ask a question about? And plus it connects them with the why. So suddenly they already know like they already know about me. They already know that I must have like a giving, serving heart if I'm trying to help other women rebuild their businesses. And I'm suddenly not just a salesperson for Beachbody. I'm not as a walking Beachbody billboard. I'm a person with a passion, and I'm using Beachbody to realize that passion or realize that dream. You are not your job title. You are why you are in that position. So just remember that. You're not just a Beachbody coach. There's 400,000 Beachbody coaches. But why are you here? That is why you're a Beachbody coach. I don't know if that makes sense, but just figure out your whys again, guys. Get in touch with your whys and your passions. And number 10, share your energy while it feels good, and then give yourself permission to leave when you need to. I know there's so many of my coaches are just like me. You're introverts. You're like, I don't want to be on Facebook all the time. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want you to be on Facebook all the time either. That's why it's so important that when you're on Facebook, you're focused. Because otherwise, if you're scrolling through your feed and you're commenting on every annoying post that somebody puts up about Shakeology or, your workouts, or you're just reading them and not commenting, you're draining your energy, and that energy needs to be utilized for productive activities like talking to people who want to hear from you, like starting relationships or building relationships and starting conversations with people who actually will listen to what you have to say and who you could potentially help. I know I get caught up in the Facebook scroll too, and sometimes it's good to kind of see is there somebody else that I could be talking to? Like, because people put up, they want to leave their jobs or this, that, and the other thing. And sometimes that's good. But for the most part, as an introvert, even being on social media is a drain on your energy. And you need to know when you're using your energy wisely and when you're not. And I'm not saying skip your power hours. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when it stops feeling good, when you're starting to get overwhelmed with messages, like, you guys know me, like, there's some times where I have, 10 messages and they're all that bold black thing when I open my messages. But if I don't have the energy, if I can't bring positive, excitable energy to the conversation, then I'm just not even going to have it, because I don't want to, even if I pretend to be excited about the conversation, somehow, some way, my energy is going to be relayed in something that I say or the way that I say it. And it's not good. It's not valuable. So if you have to avoid something for a limited amount of time, not forever, not for days, but if it stops feeling good, step away until you get that energy back. And usually personal development will do that. Little hint. And let's see. I think that's it. Those were like 10 key points that I got from this reading. And that was just the first really half of that chapter. So I plan on like every week coming to you guys with nuggets. And like, if you guys want to talk about, challenges and stuff that you're having in your business, then I'll put off those nuggets and we can do it another time. These calls are still your calls. I just want to make sure that I'm bringing value to each one, because I don't want you guys just getting on here and then us like staring at each other for 30 minutes. Because although that is nice, I mean, we're all beautiful people, we should have something to do. So that's my plan. What do you guys think of that? Like, is that okay? We can still talk about whatever you want to talk about if there's something you want to talk about. But on days like today, when I ask how your week went and nobody says a thing, it's good that I had like a backup plan sort of thing. I think, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys
thought it was great.
Okay. Tuesdays at 9, do you think that this is going to work better? I see more people on this week than the last couple, so that makes me happy.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely better for me anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Good. Mondays can be crazy. Did you guys want to talk about or elaborate on anything, or you're just happy with your notes that you took? These calls are yours, guys. Anything you want to ask?
I'm really glad you touched on what our quote unquote job description is, because I cringe when people ask me, and I don't even want to say Beachbody, but I don't know how to explain myself. So I like the why thing. So I'm going to.
Yeah. So just figure out what your core purpose is with this that has nothing to do with Beachbody or fitness. I mean, it can be that you want to give women their confidence back through fitness. That could be your avenue. So just figure out what that is, and then you can sort of plug it in. Because I believe in this, I do this by this little formula. But yeah, when I was writing those down, Candace, I was totally thinking of you. I'm going to stop the recording now.